Franklin County Courthouse is where Mount Vernon was established in 1849 on land donated by Stephen and Rebecca Keith, and a public square was surveyed in the 24-acre plat. When Franklin County was created in 1875, Mount Vernon was voted county seat, and a wooden building northeast of the square was used as the first courthouse. Lots on the block north of the square were soon purchased for $150 for a two-story wooden jail costing $1,600. Now in 1878, a brick courthouse was built on the square at a cost of $5,500. In 1910, the county commissioners ordered an election to decide the building of a new county courthouse and a jail, and the commission's court then rescinded that order, called for construction warrants to be issued without election, and levied a property tax to pay for the new buildings. Citizens filed suit against the county, and in January 1911, the district court prevented construction from proceeding. An appellate court overturned the decision, and by December 1911, the Texas Supreme Court had affirmed its method of financing county buildings, and within days of the landmark decision, Franklin County Commissioners awarded a contract to L.R. Wright and Company to construct the courthouse and adjacent jail. So the buildings were completed in 1912 at a cost of $55,000. This is Franklin County Courthouse here in Mount Vernon. Let's go. Mount Vernon's historic district. You about to walk around Mount Vernon, Texas, and get some vibes and all that good stuff. History, you name it. You know the drill. Let's get into it, shall we? So, Mount Vernon is a city and seat of Franklin County. Mount Vernon has a population of 2,500 residents. You see this gazebo that sits right in the center, smack dab of Courthouse Square. You see the water tower from over here. Mount Vernon, Texas, a Texas treasure. Now, this land where Mount Vernon sits on was originally inhabited by the cattle people, the cattle tribe, Native American tribe, which inhabited much of northeast Texas, some parts of Oklahoma and Arkansas as well. Now, Stephen and Rebecca Keith donated land which would become Mount Vernon in 1848, and Franklin County was carved out of Titus County in 1875. So immediately after Franklin County was carved out, Mount Vernon was chosen as the seat. So here we go. Now we're going to get over there to the Franklin County Courthouse momentarily, but let's just take in the marvelous sights of this really nice park, nicely landscaped Courthouse Square Park. And of course, you're going to have the monument dedicated to the men and women who served in World War II, the Korean and Vietnam Wars, and all the other world conflicts. So shout out to them. You know the drill. And you have these poles that have good messages on them: live, love, garden. So just basically encouraging garden, encouraging getting out and getting some sun. I need to laugh, and when the sun is out, I've got something I can laugh about. Absolutely. It's all about positive vibes, man. That's what we need. That's what helps the world continue to operate on a positive frequency. But yep, this is the park right here. You can see. And there goes the City Hall for Mount Vernon, right there on the right. It's an interesting looking City Hall. I've never seen a City Hall in that type of building before, in that kind of building. Let me cross right here real quick. It's a bar and grill right here. Tags I think it's called Tags Hometown Bar and Grill. ML Edwards. Looks pretty cool. They may have a little seating area with a fan blowing right on you. You're gonna need that in this extreme Texas heat. Air blowing right on you as you eating. That's good. That's what you need. This is the bar right here. They even have the middle school cheerleaders out here, so they showing support for the locals. Got the menu out here, so it's really nice. Tags Hometown Bar and Grill. Now this is a historic building within itself. This was once the site of Merchants and Planters National Bank, which was organized back in 1905, but it merged with the First National Bank of Mount Vernon back in 1932. And the present building was erected in 1910 after the fire destroyed the original Merchants and Plants Bank building, and the M&P Bank and First National Bank merged in the March of 1932 during the National Great Depression, which began in 1929. So let's keep in mind, a lot of banks crashed during the Great Depression. A lot of people lost their money because those banks weren't insured. And, you know, which is why a lot of people back during that time, probably some to this day, you know, probably don't trust the banks because, you know, they rather keep their money in a safe deposit box in their own house or under the mattress or something. But this is a chronological photograph montage of the First National Bank. There goes J.H. Herman and Benny Ruth Nelson Connolly, who kept the bank together even during the downtrodden national economy. The State Rep Neil Solomon. This was 1932. This was following the merger. And yeah, it's old school pictures. 1910 right here. Hey, they were still riding the horses and carriages back then, and a stock certificate. So it just certifies them to cover the shares within the bank. Very historic building right here in MV, Mount Vernon. Speaking of which, you have another bank right here. This is a more modern bank called the Alliance Bank. Chamber of Commerce right there. Franklin County Chamber of Commerce in that building. And you have the Mount Vernon Optic Herald. This is the publisher for the newspaper, local newspaper. They have printers and publishers right here. Closer up to the water tower right there. Century Room. Milano's Pizza, another local spot right here in Mount Vernon. And another Coca-Cola mural. This is on the side of Milano's Pizza. This was done by Jack Graham, back in 1992. As you can see, a lot of the mural is faded. Could probably use some touch up, but it's there nevertheless. Don Meredith Exhibit Museum. And you have this well, we have a similar setup with these iron and wooden farm equipment, farming and training equipment. It looks like this is the Cotton Belt Depot Museum. So very historic building right here in the heart of Mount Vernon. You even have this cutout right here. They got the where you could put your faces in here, take a picture if you want to. It says welcome to Mount Vernon. It's just a couple of farmers and their cow or cattle. Now this is this rail depot is on the Cotton Belt here in Northeast Texas. Cotton Belt because it shipped cotton as its main product, main crop, if you will. And they have right across the street, there's the post office for Mount Vernon. But you have this log cabin right here. It's called the Say Corn Crib, one of the last log structures remaining in Franklin County. This log crib for storing corn was built by Zachary Say. Zach and Elizabeth Say moved to Franklin County after the Civil War and built this crib near their home at what is now the northwest corner of the intersection of Farm and Market 3122 or FM 3122 and FM 2723 north of Lake Cypress Springs. The addition of a metal roof in the 1880s helped protect the building, and by 1995 the Say property had passed to Sarah Mays, who offered the crib to the Historical Association if the association would move to preserve the building. So volunteers from the association numbered the logs, and Joe Dan Coe, grandson of Zach Say, provided extensive documentation regarding his family's association with the structure. So this log cabin was donated to the Historical Association and maintained for historical purposes, so people like myself can come and look at and admire the history. So the last log cabin building standing in Franklin County, Texas. And that looks like it's some more farm equipment. And there goes the tracks, by the way. There goes the tracks. So it was on those tracks where Franklin County or Mount Vernon was supplied with a multitude of crops, ranging from, of course, cotton, but you also had pumpkin, peach, watermelon, and cane syrup. Speaking of syrup, you have log cabin. Y'all saw what I did right there. This cabin of hand-hewn logs was built in the late 1890s, moved to the Cecil Martin farm in the 1930s, and restored on this site in 1999. And it was donated by Patsy Martin Wright and Glenn Martin in loving memory of their parents, Ruth Harper Martin and Cecil Martin. So shout out to the Martins. This is a really nice and historical structure. It was moved and maintained multiple times and restored on this site in 1999. Very cool history. So again, this is the Mount Vernon Railroad Depot. They even have an outdoor restrooms right there. So the St. Louis and Southwestern Railroad were was the major railroad line that serviced Mount Vernon in its heyday of passenger travel. So it would travel to Fort Worth, which is 140 miles west of Mount Vernon on the Cotton Belt route. So very cool history right there as it pertains to the railroad here in Mount Vernon. The Franklin County Historical Museum right here. As you can see, this once was the city hall for Mount Vernon way back in 1940, but it has since been converted to a museum, the Don Meredith exhibit. And there goes another one of those things you can put your face in and take pictures. One of those painting cutouts. Pretty cool. We're at the corner of Kaufman Street and Scott Street. And right here on Scott Street at this intersection, you have this sculpture of two girls, one of them reading, sitting up, and the other one sleeping on who's presumably her big sister's lap. I'm not sure, but yeah, so they're sitting on a log. It's a really cool and touching sculpture. Let me see. I wonder if they have any information on who sculpted that. That's a really nice sculpture. All I know is the Heritage Fountain, dedicated to the people of Mount Vernon in Franklin County, Texas, by the First National Bank, employees, directors, and shareholders. And here goes the First National Bank of Mount Vernon's board of directors from 1900 to 1995. That's a long line, a long time, and a long list. Yeah, I'm not sure who did these sculptures, because it's another one right here. It's like you have what these two boys. One is climbing a ladder. One is holding up the ladder. Just looks like two brothers helping each other out. It's really nice. I wish they had some information on who did this sculpture. But nevertheless, a great job. So both of them are bronze statues right here at the Heritage, around the Heritage Fountain. And this is supposed to be the Heritage Fountain right here, but you know, there's nothing going on right now, just a bunch of vegetation. To all my avid Pokemon card collectors, y'all know about the holographic Charizard. You practically can't find those things anymore. You know, those were the old school collector's edition Charizard. You know what I'm saying? Them things, for those who do have them in mint condition, consider yourselves lucky, because they worth a ton of money now. And you got a signed baseball by Nolan Ryan, Texas Rangers native. Also was born and raised here in Texas. Basically, dude came out the womb pitching. And Kobe, the late great Kobe Bryant, the number 24. And of course you have Don Meredith, who's from Mount Vernon, grew up in Mount Vernon. And all my old school Cowboys fans know about Don Meredith. Played college ball here in Texas at SMU. Did his thing with the Cowboys back in the 60s. They even have Patrick Mahomes right there. Pat Mahomes. won multiple Super Bowl rings as the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback. I can't stand him because I'm a 49ers fan, but that's another story for another time. And it's the 1986 Fleer Michael Jordan card, back when he was still young. I think that was his second year in the league. So that, you know, that's worth a lot as well. And you can come and trade and sell a lot of, you know, old school memorabilia right here, Big Dog Sports. It's pretty cool to have that local thing right here. You got the thrift store, the Tom Ramsey building, established 1973. Mount Vernon newspaper stand. And here we go. Right here in front of the historic Franklin County Courthouse. As you can see right here. This one's a little bit smaller than the one in Titus County. Due in large part because it's a smaller town, obviously. Mount Vernon's a smaller town, so. And, you know, less populated town. And Franklin County is a less populated county, but yeah. It's the side of the courthouse right here. Northeast Texas land titles. And take a look at this, whatever this building is over here. Looks like an old jail. I don't know. It's giving old school jail vibes, man. You can just look from the way it's designed, the type of bricks that is used, those real thick bricks, and those bars. Those look like prison bars on a you know, as far as on the window. Interesting building right over here by the Franklin County Courthouse. And this is where I will end this vlog, right here in Mount Vernon, Texas. I'd like to thank you guys for rocking with me in this vlog. If you made it this far, make sure you hit the like button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell. And once you hit the bell, make sure you select all. That way you get notified every time I drop a new vlog. With that in mind, good people, thanks again for tuning in. See you guys on the next one. Peace.